My spoiled sister demanded I took a loan for her debts. I refused. So, she tried to blackmail and ruin my life. I'm a 32-year-old guy I married, and my wife and I are expecting our first baby soon. Things have been going great. Stable job, a cozy house, and we're excited to start our little family. Then my dad called, and all hell broke loose. For a bit of background, I grew up in a family where it was clear my sister, Clara, 29, was the favorite. Dad always acted like she could do no wrong, and somehow, I always ended up being the one responsible for fixing things. If Clara got into trouble, it was my job to help out. If I had a problem, well, I should just figure it out because Clara was more sensitive. This has been the dynamic my whole life. Clara's been spoiled rotten, and my parents have always enabled her. It started small when we were kids. I remember one Christmas when I was around 10, I wanted this specific Lego set I'd been saving for. But Clara threw a tantrum at the store because she wanted a dollhouse that cost twice as much. Guess who got the dollhouse? I didn't even get the Legos because they said it wasn't fair to spend more on me than her, even though it was literally my own money I'd saved up. Little things like that turned into big patterns as we grew up. Clara's messes were always someone else's problem to fix, usually mine. Clara never changed. When I went off to college, she demanded I share my college fund with her so she could buy a car. I told her no because I needed it to pay tuition. She threw a fit and told everyone in the family I didn't care about her. And for months, I got passive-aggressive comments about how siblings are supposed to look out for each other. Fast forward to my wedding, and she tried to hijack the rehearsal dinner by lying about getting a promotion at her job. It was such obvious BS, but my parents lapped it up and told me I should be proud of her. Even after I moved out and started building my own life, she kept trying to drag me into her nonsense. A couple of years ago, she joined some MLM scams selling overpriced skincare products and begged me to invest $5,000 to help her grow her business. I told her no, and the next thing I knew, my mom was calling me, asking why I couldn't support my sister's dreams. I had to explain that it wasn't a business, it was a pyramid scheme, and I wasn't throwing my money away. Of course, I was painted as the bad guy. That's just how it always goes. A couple of weeks ago, my dad called me. He started with some small talk about the baby and how excited they were to be grandparents. Then he dropped the real reason he called. Clara was in serious financial trouble. She had racked up over $50,000 in credit card debt and loans and was on the verge of being sued. Apparently, she'd been living way beyond her means. Luxury vacations, spa treatments, designer clothes, and now it was all catching up to her. Dad said she was really struggling and needed help. Specifically, he wanted me to take out a loan to pay off her debts. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him, absolutely not. That's not happening. My wife and I are saving for the baby. We've got hospital bills coming up, a nursery to set up, and we're trying to build a safety net for the future. Taking on a massive loan for Clara's screw-ups would be insane. I told him as much, and he hit me with, "You've always been better with money. Clara doesn't handle stress like you do. She needs help." I said, "That's not my problem. She got herself into this mess. She can get herself out of it." Then he got quiet for a second before saying, "I didn't realize you were so selfish." That pissed me off. I told him, "I'm not selfish. I'm just not going to ruin my financial future because Clara can't stop spending money she doesn't have." He hung up on me. For the next few days, I was bombarded with texts and calls from both my parents. My dad sent long, guilt-trippy messages about how family is supposed to stick together and how disappointed he was in me. My mom called crying, saying she was scared Clara might hurt herself if I didn't help. I told her I was sorry Clara was in a bad place, but this wasn't something I could fix. She said, "You don't know how hard this has been for her." I said, "Maybe it wouldn't be so hard if you and Dad stopped enabling her every time she screws up." Then Clara started calling. She didn't even try to act sorry. She went straight into, "I need you to do this for me. You're the only one who can help." I told her no. She started crying, saying, "You don't understand how much pressure I'm under." I told her, "I'm not doing this. Stop calling me. She screamed, "You're such a heartless asshole," and hung up. A few days later, she showed up at my house unannounced. My wife was out, so it was just me. Clara walked in looking like a wreck, crying and shaking. She said, "I don't know what else to do. You're my brother. You're supposed to help me." I told her I wasn't changing my mind. That's when she snapped. "You think you're so perfect," she said, glaring at me. "Like you've never screwed up in your life. I know things about you, things that could ruin everything for you." I asked her, "What the hell are you talking about?" And she pulled out her phone. She had screenshots of old texts and pictures from my college days. Me drunk at parties, saying stupid shit in group chats. Nothing illegal or seriously bad, but definitely embarrassing. She said, "What do you think your boss would say if they saw this? Or your wife?" I couldn't believe she was threatening me. I said, "Are you seriously trying to blackmail me right now? Over money?" She looked at me, still crying, and said, "I'm desperate. I don't have a choice." I told her to get out of my house. She said, "I hope you're happy when I lose everything because of you," and stormed out. After Clara stormed out, I sat there, trying to process what had just happened. My own sister had just tried to blackmail me. Over money. For a moment, I thought about the fallout if she actually went through with it. If she sent those pictures to my boss or tried to humiliate me publicly. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Those were things from a decade ago. Nothing more than stupid college antics. The fact that she'd dig up something so petty and weaponize it against me was disgusting. When my wife came home, I told her everything. She was furious. "Are you kidding me? She actually threatened you." I told her Clara had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to let her push me around. My wife agreed, saying, "You're not responsible for her mistakes. And if she wants to burn bridges, let her." That gave me some clarity. I wasn't the bad guy here. Clara was. The next day, I decided to get ahead of things. I called my boss. We have a good relationship, so I told him, "Look, there's something personal going on, and there's a small chance my sister might try to cause trouble." I explained the situation, briefly mentioning the college photos and texts she might use. He laughed and said, "I don't care what you did in college, as long as it doesn't involve a felony." That was a huge relief. I also spoke to a lawyer just to cover my bases. He assured me that Clara's threats were empty. Nothing she had was damaging enough to hold up legally, and any attempt to use it against me would backfire on her. For a while, I thought that would be the end of it. But Clara wasn't done. She showed up at my baby's shower, uninvited, carrying a ridiculously expensive diaper bag as a gift. It was clearly an attempt to make herself look like the generous, caring sister in front of everyone. When people asked why she wasn't officially invited, she put on this fake sad voice and said, "Oh, I guess my brother and I are having some differences right now." It was such obvious manipulation. I pulled her aside and told her she needed to leave. She started whining. "Why are you being so mean?" "I'm just trying to make things right." I told her, "If you really wanted to make things right, you'd apologize and stop pulling this crap. Now leave, or I'll have someone escort you out." She huffed and stormed off, making sure to look as dramatic as possible so everyone would feel sorry for her. Of course, the next day my parents were on my case again. My mom called saying, "Why couldn't you just let her stay?" She was trying to make peace. I told her no. She was trying to manipulate the situation and make me look like the bad guy. "I'm done with this." My dad chimed in later, accusing me of being immature and saying, "This is all going to blow over if you just take the high road." I told him, the high road is letting her face the consequences of her actions. I'm not bailing her out. Then, just when I thought Clara had hit rock bottom, my parents called with the most absurd idea yet. They wanted Clara to move into our house. Their reasoning? It'll give her a fresh start and she can help out with the baby. I nearly laughed out loud. I told them, absolutely not. We're about to have a newborn, and the last thing we need is more stress. Clara is not my responsibility. My mom started with the guilt trip again, saying, "But where is she supposed to go? She doesn't have anyone else." I told her, "That's not my problem. You and Dad have been enabling her for years, and now you expect me to pick up the pieces?" It's not happening. My dad tried to guilt me by saying, she's your sister. Family comes first. I shot back, no. My wife and child come first. If you can't understand that, then we have nothing else to talk about. After that, I decided to go low contact with my parents and completely cut Clara out. I blocked her on everything: phone, social media, email. I wasn't going to give her any more chances to pull her crap. My parents have been trying to guilt me into reconnecting, but I've made it clear that until they stop enabling her, I'm not interested. The sad part is I do feel a little guilty sometimes. Not because I think I'm wrong, but because this whole mess has made me realize how broken my family dynamic is. It's hard to walk away from people you've known your entire life, even when you know it's the right thing to do. But I've got a baby on the way, and my focus needs to be on building a healthy, happy family for them, not cleaning up Clara's messes. So far, Clara hasn't followed through on her threats. I think she realized there's no real power behind them, and that she'd only make herself look worse if she tried. My parents are still holding out hope that I'll come around, but honestly, I don't care anymore. For the first time in years, I feel like I've taken control of my life. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: family doesn't give you a free pass to be toxic. At some point, you have to draw the line and stand up for yourself. For me, that time was long overdue. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.